only got a couple of ingredients in. Am I?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Shannon. It's early Tuesday afternoon. I'm doing a little early prep work for tonight's meal. Somehow I had a craving for meatloaf. We have some leftover mashed potatoes. Got a couple of good recipes for that. So anyways, kind of started on my project a little bit. The first thing that we had to do, I'm cutting the recipe in half since it's going to be just Ed and I eating. So I went to Publix and got some of the items that I needed. And one of the things that I did first, kind of in advance, since we all kind of know how to do it, is I actually chopped up half an onion, small pieces, and I sauteed it in a teaspoon of olive oil, just until they're almost soft and translucent. Kind of done there with that. And to that, we're adding 1 pound of ground beef, 1 egg, and we've got a tablespoon of ketchup, and it also calls for garlic. Kind of did garlic to taste. This recipe actually called for, when cutting it in half, it called for like 1.5 tablespoons. So we've got that going. It also calls for some breadcrumbs. And this recipe calls for 3/4 cup of breadcrumbs. Since we're cutting it in half, we'll make it just a little bit more, just a little shy of 1/2 cup. And this also calls for Italian seasonings in this recipe. And since the breadcrumbs already have Italian seasoning, that will just save me a step later on. Okay, so we're going to add that to our ingredients. And then it's pretty basic. It's just salt and pepper. Again, that's kind of to taste. We try to be kind of conscious of eating right here, so we don't really put a lot of salt in any of our food. We have guests, they can always at liberty kind of add salt as they like. So these I don't typically measure out. And now it looked like I put in about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Our pretty basic stuff here. And actually what I used today, and we're just kind of checking out the ground beef and that type of thing. And I decided to use ground chuck. It was one of the few things that was already made up at Publix that they actually sold it in 1 pound packages. Everything else was either a little less or a little more. So just going with that. And you can see I've got all my ingredients in here. I've got the ketchup, the breadcrumbs, there's garlic, salt, pepper, and 1 egg. And I've actually found that it's easiest, as gross as it is just to mix this all up with my hands. Okay? I'm just going to go ahead and do that. This recipe also calls for fresh parsley. I don't think that we have any of that. We definitely have some of the dried parsley up in the spice cabinet, so I'll be adding that too. And get my parsley. Once I've added that to the mixture, I'll go ahead and add the sauteed onions. And again, this recipe, since we're cutting it in half, calls for just 1/2 of a medium onion chopped in small pieces. And we've actually sauteed that. So a little bit ahead of the game here. Find the parsley. That calls for fresh parsley. Seldom use anything more than just a little bit of that, so it's almost just better just to have just the jarred parsley. Just kind of add that to taste. I don't know how much parsley actually tastes, especially the dried stuff. I tend to think the fresh has got a little bit more aromatics to it, if you will. So we're going to add that. We're going to add our sauteed onions. Your traditional meatloaf look. I don't know, I tend not to get too experimental and crazy with the meatloaf. I think just kind of keeping it simple is always a good practice. So we've got our mixture. Just gonna mix in the parsley now and the sauteed onions. Pretty simple recipe, really. And since we're doing this early afternoon, my plan was just to get this done, work on the potatoes, and we'll just keep this in the fridge until we're ready to pop in the oven, which will probably be about 4 o'clock, 4:30 this afternoon. Typically, meatloaf, a pound of it takes, it probably takes about, 45 minutes to an hour to cook it through. And even though this pan is actually already got a nice, it looks like non-stick coating, and it's for easier cleanup, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a little cooking spray to it. Pan all prepared. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap that up, put it in the fridge until we're ready to go. We'll take out a little bit early to let it sit at room temperature. Put it in the oven at 350. It'll cook for about 45 minutes. We'll check it then. If it's not done, we'll give it an extra 5 minutes until it's done. Typically it's anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, here we are again. Okay, so anyways, here's our finished product for the meatloaf. As I said, this is kind of, I think mostly meatloaf, it's kind of the same ingredients. We've got our ground beef. Since we're cutting it in half, this is 1 pound of ground beef. I use half a medium onion chopped up, and we sauteed that, and a teaspoon of olive oil until they started to brown, but not too brown. It took about 5 minutes on that at a low temperature setting. And then along to that, we added 1 tablespoon of ketchup. It called for 3 cloves of garlic. Since we're cutting it in half, I put in a teaspoon of that. I believe that equals 1 garlic clove. Added some Italian breadcrumbs, since the recipe just called for traditional breadcrumbs, and then later on the recipe called for Italian seasonings, and we just did the breadcrumbs. The Italian style breadcrumbs saved us a step. And for that, we actually just added half a cup of breadcrumbs, and then of course, salt and pepper to taste. Cover that up, put it in the fridge, and I think what I'll do is I'll probably take it out about 15-20 minutes before we're actually going to pop in the oven so it comes to room temperature. That way it won't have to be in the oven so long. So anyways, actually even now, it smells really good, so looking forward to that. Hey everybody, a long time no see, right? I think we just saw each other. We are now ready for the second part of today's meal. This is a recipe I've actually used in different variations before. It's making use of leftover mashed potatoes. This is actually from Sunday's meal. Got a chicken dinner, very good, but there were quite a few mashed potatoes left. So we're gonna go ahead and since we don't like to waste leftovers, we're gonna go ahead and use those. These are actually something that are really yummy. Basically, it's something with mashed potatoes, egg, salt, pepper, garlic powder, a little bit of flour for thickening it, kind of a binding ingredient, along with some cheddar cheese and some chives. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix this up, starting with mashed potatoes, 3 cups, and my guess is that's probably closer to 1.5 cups. It also calls for 1 large egg. Never know completely how to divide that up, but if memory serves me right, half of a large egg is equal to about 1.5 tablespoons of a beaten egg. So go ahead and do that. To start with, kind of a different thing to do, right? Yeah, so it's one of those FYI things, one of those life hacks. If you're ever cutting a recipe in half and it calls for 1 egg, according to the information I got when I Googled it, I believe it said 1 tablespoon or 1.5 tablespoons of beaten egg. Excuse me, it calls for 1/4 of a cup, so I'm just going to put in 1/8 of a cup. Actually, we're going to go with 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. This is salt and pepper to taste. Good with that. So got about 1/4 teaspoon of that. A couple shakes of pepper. my favorite ingredients. So, okay. Did the half a cup, a little bit overflowing of the Sargento's cheddar cheese. Gonna cut up my chives. In this case, I just bought green onions from Publix. I think that that'll suffice just fine. Can always add more if we want to, right? I always think that it's better to start out with less. If it seems like it needs more, it can always be added later. Okay, let me just mix this up. Should be pretty thick. What we're gonna do with this, once we get done with it, I'm actually gonna chill it until we take our meatloaf out. That way we're gonna put everything in the oven so everything is done about the same time for dinner tonight. Okay, Russell says to mix. Okay, this is our mixture so far. Pretty simple to me. It kind of makes me think of a twice baked potato. Anyways, that's it for this part of the meal. Please stay tuned. Later on this afternoon, about another couple hours, we'll actually be putting our food in the oven, getting it ready for dinner time. So hopefully everything is as good as I'm anticipating. Thanks, folks, and talk to you soon.
Good.
Good to go?
Good to go.
Good afternoon again, everybody. Still Tuesday. Now it's just a little later in the afternoon. We're gonna kind of resume with our dinner here tonight, and it's a couple hours later. Our mashed potatoes, as you recall, we actually put them in the refrigerator along with the meatloaf. I did a little meal prepping earlier just to kind of save some time. This is just, again, just a refrigerated finished product. What we're going to do next is we actually lined a cookie sheet with parchment paper, and we're going to scoop out some of our potato mixture in equal amounts. And it says to make them about the size of, and looks like, I would guess, if I were to guess on this, it's probably between a third and a half a cup of my mashed potato mixtures per potato as is. It seems like that's where they're happy. So we'll just let Mother Nature take its course. So anyways, these are the potato puffs. Again, made with leftover mashed potatoes. So next time you have mashed potatoes and you've got a lot of them left, don't throw them away. This may be the answer to that problem. Okay? Our oven's just at 360 now. So I'll bring you back after they come out of the oven. Give me about half an hour and we'll check in again. Thanks for stopping by, folks. See you in a little bit. We're gonna pop that baby in the oven. Next 30 minutes. Check on it and see where things are at. Easy, actually. This recipe claims to be the best meatloaf ever. I don't know, in my opinion, when I went through it, it looks like just kind of your standard meatloaf recipe. We'll see after I'm done with this all what sets it apart. Okay, again, we're going to cut the recipe in half. So I'm going to measure out half a cup of ketchup. Everybody seems to have a favorite meatloaf recipe. I don't know, in my opinion, they all kind of resemble each other. I have made some before using like a mushroom gravy, and that's actually very good too. I believe you actually add a can of cream of mushroom soup to it. Curious, for the people that are watching today, what's your favorite way to make meatloaf? For 3/4 teaspoon of white vinegar. 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. Excuse me, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I think that Eddie's, we kind of go with the bigger size. Seems to be the best value for the money at our house. Anyways, here's the glaze. Again, we've got our ketchup, there's white vinegar, a little bit of garlic, onion powder, garlic powder, that on the top. As I said, we actually just cut the recipe in half, so it's not a lot. And basically it smells and looks a lot just like ketchup with a few kind of ingredients to kick it up a notch. So here we go. Clean up that some of it in there. And for now, that's it. Here we are, once again, back again. Ed's gonna have fun with this one. Okay, just to kind of give you a quick update. Took our meatloaf out about 20 minutes ago to bring it to room temperature. Now we're gonna pop that in the oven. It's at 350 and we're gonna cook it for about 40 minutes, pull it out, put our glaze on, and bake for another 20 minutes. And I also wanted to give you a quick look here. We shall see. Okay, so there's the potato puffs. The potato puffs actually became potato disc. I think the taste will be the same. To me, actually, they look pretty good. They're kind of nice and crispy around the edges. The center looks like a nice soft mashed potato with cheese and some cut up green onion. I think it'll actually be quite delicious with the meat. I'll be in about another 40 minutes, give you an update on the meatloaf situation. Thanks, folks. See you soon. Hey, folks, let's hope this is it. We're in the final part of our meal tonight. Buzzer just went off. Timer, rather. Meatloaf is going to come out of the oven. Make sure that we've got the oven ready to go at 350. And as I said, we're just making half a pan of the meatloaf. So this is what the meatloaf looks like so far. We're going to add the glaze to it. And I think I'll just start out by just spooning over the meat. And then you can just kind of take care of it that way. I'm not sure if this is going to be good or if I'm just that hungry, but whatever the case is, I'm ready to dig right in. Okay. Invited my son over for dinner tonight. Thought that I could kind of lure him over here with meatloaf. I guess he had other plans. So it's okay. It's a beautiful night here. He should be out enjoying it. And sounds like that he will. Okay. Okay, so just to give you just a quick peek, here's the meatloaf, or at least half a serving of the meatloaf. I'm gonna pop it back in the oven. Since we just took it out a couple minutes ago, the oven's already set to 350. So we've got our desired temperature. I'm gonna set the timer for 15 minutes. Well, we're gonna have just one final piece to this. We'll be back in about another 15 minutes once we take the meatloaf out, and then we'll start on our beans, and then we'll be ready to eat. So thanks for your patience and being with us. Hopefully this is worth all of the extra effort that we're doing here. It smells like a good meal. Okay? Thanks, folks, and we'll see you soon. Okay, folks, this is it. It's dinner time. Yay! Okay, so the finished product. We got our fresh green beans from Publix, the meatloaf dinner, or the meatloaf, and then the potato cheese puffs. So we'll do a taste test. You'll know this week if Ed or I do another video that it was edible, we survived the meal, and hopefully it's good. I know one thing, I sure am hungry. Okay, folks, thanks for listening. Don't forget, like, subscribe. We love our listeners, okay? Thanks for stopping by, folks. Have a good night.
Eddie here. Doing a quick video to stick on the end of the one I'm doing now, the meatloaf that Shannon made last night. After that heats up a little bit, I'm going to throw these on top of the potatoes. Yeah, they were good. They were really good. Yeah, so just a short clip for the end, and yeah, it's looking good. Very simple. I'm going to put it on Wonder Bread and barbecue sauce with the potatoes, and should be a nice little lunch. Give it some moistness. And that was 10 minutes. I'll put on for a few more, and I'm just going to let it set. Yeah, all right, so that's going to be our lunch, and looking pretty good. I heated it up for about another 5 minutes, and so everything's looking good for lunch. We eat those potatoes, put them in there now. Just keep it on warm. Put them right on top of the meatloaf. Okay. We'll let them heat up. And can you see me all right? Trying for new angles here. So, all right then. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you like. And we'll see you all later. All right. Take care.